We'll continue with 7.2 today, systems of equations using substitution method, and we're specifically talking about word problems. I would like you to do the 5-minute check now. Bring this to class with you tomorrow, and we will go over this to make sure everybody's on the right track. So take a couple minutes now, do this problem, and then we'll move on to number 1. So I'm not going to give you the answer right now. We'll check that tomorrow. Go ahead and push pause and do that right now. Alright, now that you've finished the 5-minute check, let's look at the first word problem here. When you're translating things into words, normally it's pretty easy. There's a few times when it might be a little more challenging, but for the most part it should not be that difficult. Number 1 says the base of a triangle is 4 inches longer than the length of each side. Find the length of the sides and the base. Now let's look at the picture here. We know that these two sides are x and this base we're calling y. And P equals 46 inches. What do you suppose that P stands for? That's perimeter. Perimeter equals 46 inches. So we need to come up with two equations to represent what's going on here. All right, so one of them is a perimeter equation, and one of them goes with this sentence right here. So let's start with the sentence. The base of the triangle is 4 inches longer than the length of each side. So the base, which one is the base? The base is the y. The base of the triangle is y, because that's the base of the triangle. Is means equals 4 inches longer. That's 4 more than the length of each side. The length of each side is simply x. So a first equation is exactly what it says here. Y equals 4 plus x. The base is 4 longer than the length of each side, x. So translate it as exactly as you see it, and that's your equation. No problem. Now, the second thing we know is that the perimeter is 46 inches. How can we find the perimeter? What expression can we write for the perimeter of this triangle? Think about the outside of a triangular yard. You want to put a fence around the outside. That's perimeter. Okay, so we would simply add x plus y, and that will give us our total perimeter. If we add all the sides up, that will give our perimeter, which is 46. So now we have two equations. Equation 1, equation 2, and we're going to use substitution method to solve for this. You want to simplify this one to 2x plus y equals 46, and that will make it a little easier for you. So here are your two equations, y equals 4 plus x, and 2x plus y equals 46, and you can go ahead and make your table and do substitution method for that one. So you can finish that one on your own. Okay, I'm going to help you get these started today, and then you're going to finish them and bring them to class tomorrow. Number 3. We are making a Christmas candy mix. It says 3 times as much Reese's Christmas trees as M&Ms are in our mix. Okay, M&Ms cost $4 a pound. Reese's trees cost $1.50 per pound, and we have $34 to spend. How many pounds of each can we put in our mix? So let's go one sentence at a time. Here's the first sentence. 3 times as much Reese's as M&Ms. Now, here's what we want to do. If we don't have variables already, we get to pick our variables. I like to pick them based on what they are. So I'm going to use R for Reese's. And I usually use lowercase. And then for M&Ms, what do you think I'll use? Of course, we'll use M for that one. Okay? So if I look at this, 3 times as much Reese's as M&Ms. The best way to think about this is which one do we have less of? 3 times as much Reese's as M&Ms. Okay, the M&Ms are the ones we have fewer of. So for our first equation, if we do M&Ms are the smaller one, okay, it's saying that if we take the M&Ms and multiply it by 3, then that will give us the Reese's. So 3 times as much Reese's as M&Ms. So you have to multiply the M&Ms by 3, and that gives you your Reese's. That can be challenging, so always think about which one is the smaller one. And then the smaller one's the one you have to multiply by to get to the larger one. Now the second one is a cost equation. Imagine if you go to the store and you're trying to figure out how much you can buy. If we know M&Ms cost $4 a pound and Reese's cost $1.50 a pound, so what we're doing is $4 times every pound of M&Ms I buy plus $1.50 times every pound of Reese's that I buy. And we have $34 to spend. So if we take our M&Ms and we add it to the cost of our Reese's, it should be equal to $34. And those will be your two equations there. 3m equals r, and then your cost equation, if I take the cost of M&Ms times how many pounds I buy, plus the cost of the Reese's times how many pounds I buy, should give me a total cost of $34. Again, we're going to use substitution method for this one. So go ahead and do your chart and solve for this. Now when you do this, at the end, since these are word problems, here's my rule of thumb. If it begins in words, it needs to end in words. So if it says find the length of the sides and the base, the sides are blah and the base is blah. Okay? So I just wrote into your chart. But when you're all done, you need to write a sentence. Okay? In number 2, the question is, how many pounds of each can we put in our mix? All right? We will mix blank pounds of Reese's and blank pounds of M&Ms. So once you've solved it, instead of writing your answer as a point like this, and again, the question then will be which comes first, the M or the R. You usually come in alphabetical order, but the thing is that this is a word problem. So we actually won't write it this way at all at the end. Instead, we will use what we've solved for and just write it in the sentence. Okay, so you finish that one on your own. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Number 3 says, angle X and angle Y are supplementary. What does that mean? Deep. Dig deep. What does supplementary mean? All right. Supplementary. Go look that up, okay? What I want you to do in number 3, I want you to try this whole thing by yourself. Look up what supplementary means online, if you don't already know. Write an equation for this sentence, angle X and Y are supplementary. That's equation number 1. And then angle X is 24 more degrees than angle Y. That's your second equation. So that'll give you your 2 equations, and then you can make a table and do substitution method. Find the measure of each angle. Angle X is blank degrees, and angle Y is blank degrees. Okay? So I would like you to look up supplementary, write an equation for the first sentence, write an equation for the second sentence, and solve that on your own. Bring that to class tomorrow. We'll go over that one first thing. Number 4. By the year 2000, the Yankees and the Reds had won 31 World Series. The Yankees had won 5.2 times as many as the Reds. How many World Series did each win? All right, so we have 2 sentences. The Yankees and the Reds had won 31 World Series. That means together they had won 31 World Series. All right. So if you take the Yankees and you add the Reds to it, you should get 31 World Series. The second sentence is the more challenging one, similar to the Reese's and the M&Ms. The Yankees had won 5.2 times as many as the Reds. This one's a little bit easier because had won is the verb. We know the Yankees had won The verb tells us where the equal sign goes every time. The Yankees had won, that's the verb, 5.2 times as many as the Reds. Multiplication. Okay? You finish that one, come up with your own sentence. How many World Series did each win? Finish that whole thing by yourself. Number 5 is the crazy challenging one, and we'll do another one of these in class tomorrow, but I'll do the whole thing here with you now. A metal alloy is 25% copper. Another metal alloy is 50% copper. How much of each alloy should be used to make 1,000 grams of a metal alloy that is 45% copper? This should sound slightly familiar. We did mixture problems just like this, and we had to make a whole chart and come up with the equation. Now there is an easier way now that we know how to solve equations with two variables, and let me show you how. So we have two metal alloys. Let's just call them alloy A and alloy B. We'll stop here for a second and move on in a little bit.